is all about the Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA, as it's called.
Let's take a look. The case is called United States versus Windsor. This is not a question of whether or not same-sex marriage is legal. It is a question about the practical effects. If a state does recognize a same-sex relationship, what happens when you apply for some federal benefits? Because the federal government does not right now. The Defense of Marriage Act defines marriages between a man and a woman. So an issue in this case is whether DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, violates equal protection guarantees. Let's look at the argument. The government says, since the federal government does not recognize the same-sex marriage, marriage is not available to a same-sex relationship. That is the argument. The respondent in this case here's the issue. You have in any red state or orange state, you either have recognition of same-sex marriage or at least without recognition of civil unions and the rights of same-sex couples. What happens? The Defense of Marriage Act decision that we're waiting to get the details on. What happens to folks who have those relationships in these states? They're recognized by the state either fully or mostly. Their spouse passes away, then what happens?
Good point. All right, John, hold on for a moment. Gloria, you spent a lot of time speaking to some of the attorneys involved in these gay marriage cases, two critically important ones. The Defense of Marriage Act, just heard John explain some of the background. It's interesting that on this particular case, it's a federal law, the Defense of Marriage Act, which defines marriage as being only between a man and a woman. The Obama administration refused to defend the federal law.
Right, exactly, on Proposition 8 and on DOMA. I think that what we've seen over the years since these cases have been litigated is a real shift in public opinion on the question of same-sex marriage. And let's take a look at this. We have asked this question back to 2003 about whether you think marriages between gay and lesbian couples should be recognized as valid. And if you go back to 2003, you see that 31% of the American public said, you know what, we don't think it should be recognized, and now 55%. So in one decade, support for same-sex marriage. And so the question today we have before the court is the court effectively going to follow public opinion on this, which has really shifted dramatically.
And then we do know that a decision has been reached. We're going through the writings of the justices. We want to be precise, obviously, to make sure we fully understand what these justices have decided. But an issue in this first case, the Defense of Marriage Act, Gloria, is the specific question is whether or not it's constitutional to prevent federal benefits going to couples who are of the same sex.
And if you are legally married in a state, the question is whether the federal government should recognize your benefits. That's the key question here for the Defense of Marriage.
And we should know momentarily what these justices have decided. Tom Foreman is taking a much closer look at this Defense of Marriage Act as well. Tom?
Yeah, and right now, 300 people are inside the chambers there. We can't take you on the cameras, but we can virtually set the scene. They're listening to what the justices are saying about this. Just as last March, they listened to the justices discuss this. Justice Roberts had a concern back then about the very thing John King mentioned a minute ago about the Obama administration. He pointed out